Hey guys, and welcome to Should You Buy It, where all we do is talk a little bit about the game and tell you whether or not we think it's worth the cost. In this episode, we'll be playing Exoprimal, the third-person mech shooter game where you can rapidly change suits in order to face any situation, whether it be thousands of dinosaurs or the opposing team. Now, the first question that we always cover in these videos is what stage of development is the game in? And in this case, in Exoprimals, it is currently in full release and available on PC as well as most consoles for $60. I do also want to mention that it is currently available on Game Pass if you have access to that, so if you do, make sure to save yourself the money. Now, if you guys want to save money on games, you should check out Humble Bundle in the description below. Humble Bundle will not only help to give you a discount on games sometimes, but will also help charity and support this channel. Everything you purchase on Humble Bundle will go towards helping a charity, helping our channel, and giving you some kind of a discount if there's a discount running on that game, which they have tons of discounts that Steam does not all the time. And again, if you want to save money, just check out Humble Bundle down below by clicking the link. But what exactly is Exoprimal? Well, Exoprimal is a bit of a PvPvE game. It's got a bit of both the PvP and the PvE worlds built into it. You can choose to queue for a PvE only mode, but you will still be racing against another team, so that's where the PvP will come in. Now, regardless of whether or not you queue for PvP or for PvE, you'll still be going through the same series of missions in order to play through each and every match with the opposing team. The way that these matches work is that you'll need to go through about 5 waves of dinosaurs across one of 3 to 4 different maps. And don't worry, there is more than one map. A lot of people have this misconception since the maps are actually slowly drip fed to you as you progress through the game. At the moment, it currently has at least 4 to 5 different paths that you can take on each one of those maps too, so that it keeps the variety fresh once in a while. Along those paths that you're going through, you'll encounter different little challenges such as taking out a certain amount of raptors, maybe taking on a T-Rex, it could be a Triceratops. There's a whole wide variety of things that you'll encounter, but they all are essentially kill quests where you have to kill X amount of a specific dinosaur that's spawning before you can progress further down the path. Now, after finishing all of those mini little missions, you'll then be teleported to a final mission location. Now, this final mission you'll be doing is where the real PvE or PvP game mode starts to come in, because you won't be doing PvP up until this point, even if you're playing on a PvP game. I know it's a little confusing, but just bear with me here. All you need to know is that if you're playing a PvE game and you get to the final mission is PvE only. If you're playing a PvP game and you get to the final mission is PvP and PvE alongside it. As far as to what these final missions can be, they can range quite widely and have things like domination, where you'll have 3 points to hold, an escort mode where you'll have to escort 2 different payloads, one for each team, and a few other modes such as one where you'll have to collect a bunch of small items scattered around the map. The idea of this is that whether it's PvP or a PvE game, you'll still be racing against the enemy team to finish that final mission first, whatever it may be, in order to claim your victory. Now, while you're completing all of these different multiplayer matches, you'll be hit with small bits of story along the way. Some of these just being a quick little cutscene that doesn't really do anything and just gives you some more plot, and others being 10-minute cutscenes that play right after a game, so you basically are stuck watching it unless you just want to skip it. Now, I won't spoil the story at all for you, but I do think it's important to note here that sometimes, regardless of the game mode that you queue for, you'll be put into a specific match that is PvE or PvP based on what the story is demanding of you to complete at that time. For example, about halfway through, you'll be forced to do a mission that requires you to team up with the opposing team and defeat a giant mutated T-Rex monster that has several mechanics that you must learn and deal with, otherwise you'll wipe too many times and have to restart all over again. Now, the mech suits here are an integral part of the game and a big selling point for it. As far as your suit selection goes and enemy variety goes, it's really not bad at all, and it's also not great either. You've got 10 suits to select from at the game's launch, but 3 of those you'll have to wait for if you don't want to pay for the premium version of the game, as they require a lot of leveling to unlock. Currently, it seems like it takes roughly about 20 hours to unlock all 3 of these additional suits, unless again you want to pay for that premium version of the game, not the battle pass, that's a whole nother thing, but a premium version for an extra $10 that will allow you to have all of these unlocked right away. Alrighty, now let's move over to the pros and cons section of the video, where we'll talk a little bit more about our personal opinions and not just facts about the game. First up is that the game is very well polished. It's rare to see titles like this today, but they really took their time to polish this game before releasing it to the public. Next is that the progression is meaningful, but not so OP that it makes it feel like you've just got a massive disadvantage or advantage whenever you're playing against or with players that have played the game significantly more. Yes, you can get upgrades to your suits, but these are mostly minor upgrades with at most maybe say a 25% damage increase for an example, versus something that may give you a little bit faster healing regen. Again, this isn't going to usually decide fights, but it can be a factor, therefore it's something to keep in mind. After that is that the gunplay feels fun and engaging. It's smooth and it just makes it feel like you're in a mech warrior suit just plowing through your enemies. I mean, the whole concept of fighting dinosaurs is cool nonetheless, but doing it in a mech suit with all sorts of cool different weapons like a Gatling gun, a machine gun, using kind of like a skater person that can do healing, being able to fly in the sky, being able to use swords. There's a whole wide variety of it and it makes the game feel good. Finally, and personally my favorite pro here, is that the graphics are astounding. They really had a great art style here and went for a sense of realism without making the game feel so realistic looking that they couldn't have their own flavor put into it. I just love the idea of getting to see all of these different mech suits use all of their different abilities and powers and their auto attacks and combos in order to create different scenarios where you can fight in completely different ways, and you get to see an incredibly graphically different engagement. Alrighty, now it's time for the cons for the game. And first up for the cons is that the monetization is kind of dumb. What I mean by this is that there are currently 3 ways that they're primarily monetizing their game. This is via a battle pass that unlocks premium skins you can only get through the premium battle pass and no other way, DLC skins, which you can only get through purchasing a DLC, and suit purchases, which allow you to unlock suits that other people would not have access to as early as you do if you're willing to spend the money. I understand that they need to be able to fund their game long term, and in this day and age, if it was just a battle pass with a couple of skins, I don't think most people would hate it, but having this on top of a $60 title with a number of other issues, which we'll get to in a second, is just ridiculous to me. I really hate the idea of having suits for purchase too, since to me, if you're gonna have something that's playable, everybody should be able to have access to it or have to do the same amount of work to acquire it. Otherwise, it's not fair to the players who don't have the extra money. Next is that the story just feels out of place. The game's trying to be a PvE/PvP game, and that's cool and all, but the story just kind of feels like you should be playing through a campaign mode, but there's no campaign mode and it's just kind of thrown at you at the end of a random match, and then you're thrown into a special match where you might have to do something special like fight that T-Rex I talked about, but nonetheless, personally, I really just think the story here feels like it needs its own solo campaign mode for you to play through. Otherwise, they should just do what Overwatch does and make it completely optional and just be like, hey guys, here's some videos you can watch if you want to know what's going on in the Overwatch universe, but if you don't care, you don't have to pay attention to it. After that is that it takes too long to unlock more than a couple of different dinos to fight and more maps that you can play. This game really tries to just trickle feed you and give you these little crumbs of content over time because they don't want you to realize that there's not that that much content at the end of the day, at least not for the price tag. The way this works is that as you level up throughout the game and you complete more and more of the story, you'll be sent to new areas, different maps, and have to complete different routes, and that is just silly to me. At the beginning, you'll be playing for about 10 games straight, and each game takes 20 to 30 minutes on average, and in those 10 games, you'll be playing the exact same map with the exact same ending and only a few different route selections. This is where that whole rumor of there not being more than one map on this game started to come out. It's because they simply didn't add it in until you got far enough into the game to actually know they existed, and there's no hint that they exist prior to that. So just know if you pick it up, you're gonna have to play a little bit in order to unlock all of the different maps, all of the cool different dinosaurs and mutated ones that you'll fight later on. And so therefore just be prepared for that, because if you think it's just one map, it's not, and unfortunately you're going to be stuck playing that one map for the beginning of your gameplay. Lastly is that the price tag for the amount of content currently available just feels steep. There's really not a whole lot to put into this one here. The content in this game is not bad by any means, but for $60 and to have microtransactions put into the game just feels wrong. It feels like they either should have gone the microtransaction in free-to-play route, or they should have gone the $40 box price for this game route. I don't think $60 is fair whatsoever, but that's just my personal opinion, at least for the amount of content available and the speed at which it gets boring. So now it's time for the rating for the game. And when we rate games, we want to get 1 hour of enjoyment out of every $1 that the game costs. So for this game in particular, in Exoprimals, we would want to get roughly 60 hours of enjoyment out of the $60 cost of the game. And after playing this game, we give it 5 out of 10 potatoes. With Exoprimal, you're either going to purchase it and enjoy it for about 10 hours and then decide that you want to quit, or you're going to just purchase it and play it for the next 50 to 100 hours and then you'll quit. Either way, the gameplay isn't bad by any means and the game is very well polished, but due to the price tag and the monetization that's on top of all of that, it's a game that almost feels like it should just be a free-to-play game or a $40 box cost game with its current content that they have available. That, or they just needed to put it into the oven and let it bake for another couple years to be able to add more maps and more mech suits for you to play as. And all of those different reasons are why we feel that it's a coin toss as to whether or not it's worth the cost. Thank you all so much just for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. We do also have a TikTok, so feel free to go check that out. We put all sorts of different content out there covering different types of games, but I do want to give a quick shout out to our Platinum and Above channel members, which currently include Caustic FPV, Jonathan S, Gerald89, Jim Phillips, and AZ Blackbird. With all that being said, I'm Game Advisor, and I'll see you in the next one.